Hippocrates, and this is News Recap. No fluff, straight to the point. Trump links Tylenol to autism. Experts say no evidence supports it. ICE agents criticized for holding a 5-year-old girl to pressure father in Massachusetts. Diddy Combs' attorneys asking a judge to give him a sentence of no more than 14 months. Virginia woman wins $150,000 using ChatGPT. President Trump made headlines this week claiming that using Tylenol during pregnancy, quote, can be associated with a very increased risk of autism. Medical experts were quick to push back. Britain's health secretary went on television urging parents to listen to scientists and not politicians, who might not necessarily have all the facts to advise on that.
First, effective immediately, the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of let's see how we say that. Acetaminophen. Is that okay?
Some small studies suggested a possible link, but larger studies show no connection. Autism has many causes, mostly genetic, and no medication has been proven to cause it.
Don't take it.
Not taking it, not treating the fever, probably has more adverse effects that you need to worry about than taking the medication. So talk to your doctors. If you have a concern, go to them. We have overwhelming information from many, many years of data that suggests the safety and efficacy of acetaminophen for treatments during pregnancy.
Trump has also suggested breaking up childhood vaccines and delaying the hepatitis B shot for newborns, again, with no scientific evidence. Experts say vaccines are safe, life-saving, and do not cause autism. The World Health Organization warns misinformation from leaders is putting lives at risk. Falling vaccination rates are already driving a rise in measles cases and deaths, even in wealthy countries like the US, Canada, and the UK. It's the second day of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. President Donald Trump gave a wide-ranging speech that criticized foreign nations, climate policies, and the UN itself. Trump began his remarks noting his teleprompter was broken, joking that it forced him to speak from the heart. The U.S. president spent much of the speech criticizing immigration policies abroad, calling climate change initiatives a con job, and claiming that green energy rules hurt developed countries. He touched briefly on global conflicts, including the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, blaming European nations for continuing to buy Russian energy and calling for the release of hostages held by Hamas. Trump also took aim at the UN, saying the organization fails to solve wars and focusing on its bureaucracy rather than action. Though he spoke without a teleprompter, Trump repeatedly returned to his main message that his policies, not the UN's, provide solutions to global challenges. Secret Service agents say they have stopped a plot that could have disrupted New York's phone systems and law enforcement as world leaders gather this week. Officials say the plot, first noticed last spring, may be linked to the Chinese government. No one has been arrested yet, and the investigation is ongoing. Agents and New York police seized hundreds of servers and over 100,000 cell phone SIM cards from multiple locations around the New York metro area. The equipment could have sent 30 million anonymous texts per minute, enough to cripple the region's phone networks. Investigators do not believe the plot was aimed directly at the United Nations General Assembly, which started on Monday and ends September 29th. Secret Service Director Sean Curran said the potential damage cannot be overstated. Authorities are still figuring out what the equipment was meant to do and whether other locations are involved. Yet another executive order was signed by the president on Monday. It is calling Antifa a domestic terrorist organization. The order directs federal agencies to investigate and prosecute anyone acting or funding Antifa. Trump also said he would target financial supporters. Experts say Antifa is not an actual organization. It's a loose, decentralized movement of anti-fascist activists, many hiding their identities. Most oppose fascist groups, sometimes confronting them in the streets, but the majority of their work is non-violent. The order follows the assassination of MAGA influencer Charlie Kirk. Right-wing commentators quickly labeled the suspect Antifa, despite little evidence. Analysts warn the order could put left-leaning activists at risk of state or vigilante attacks. Studies show far-right extremists commit far more fatal violence than left-wing groups. Critics say the administration cares more about who commits violence rather than the violence itself. The Department of Homeland Security says it will not follow California's new law banning ICE agents from covering their faces during operations. DHS called the law unconstitutional and said it will not comply. The agency said masks protect agents who have faced a sharp rise in attacks and their families who have been targeted online. Governor Gavin Newsom, a possible 2028 presidential candidate, signed the first-of-its-kind law on Saturday. It bans ICE agents from wearing masks, saying face coverings block transparency and oversight. Newsom said the law ensures accountability and criticized past federal immigration policies. The Trump administration's immigration crackdown has hit California hard. DHS reports that 5,000 immigrants living illegally in Los Angeles were arrested from June to August. Meanwhile, ICE enforcement has also sparked clashes in Illinois. New security measures are in place at the ICE facility in Broadview after days of protests. A tall wire fence surrounds the building and police blocked Beach Street, with metal barricades. Last week, at least 16 people were arrested. Some say they were held for hours without food, water, or phone access, and later faced serious charges. One protester appeared with a black eye, which he says happened inside the facility. ICE called the protesters rioters and defended its actions. Officials said detainees are moved to other facilities after processing and denied poor conditions. A group of 47 elected officials said the federal response was heavy-handed, noting journalists, family members, and peaceful protesters were hit with tear gas and pepper balls. And in another part of the country, ICE drew criticism for its tactics in Massachusetts. ICE agents held a 5-year-old autistic girl outside her home last week to pressure her father to surrender. A video shows the girl sitting beside a law enforcement SUV while authorities tried to get her father, Edward Hipp, to come out of his Leominster home. Hipp, originally from Guatemala, has lived in the U.S. for 22 years. Local police later returned the girl safely to her family. 2 days later, ICE returned and detained Hipp. He is now being held at detention center in Plymouth. In the meantime, new polls show Americans see more benefits from legal immigration. Over 60% say that incoming workers help the economy grow. A year ago, only 40% felt that way. About 51% now say skilled workers contribute to company growth, up to 10% from last year. Slightly fewer than half of Americans want to keep legal immigration at its current level, while support for reducing it has dropped sharply. Among Republicans, those favoring cuts fell from 45% to around 30% since the start of the year. Views on illegal immigration haven't changed much, though. Most still see risk. About 4 in 10 Americans view the work of undocumented immigrants positively, but roughly half believe they threaten social safety net programs. The Supreme Court says President Trump can fire a top official at the Federal Trade Commission. In a 6-3 ruling, the justices sided with Trump, allowing him to remove Democratic Commissioner Rebecca Slaughter while the legal fight continues. The court will hear arguments in December on a long-standing rule that protects independent agencies from presidential control. Liberal justices warned the decision could give presidents too much power over agencies meant to stay bipartisan. The FTC usually has 5 commissioners, 3 from the president's party and 2 from the other party. Earlier this year, Trump fired Slaughter and another Democratic commissioner. A federal judge had called her firing unlawful, but the Supreme Court's order lets Trump move forward. The court is also reviewing a similar case involving Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. Authorities say a man may have been politically motivated when he fired shots at an ABC station in Sacramento last Friday. After 64-year-old Annabelle Santana fired shots at the station on Friday, investigators found notes at his home and in his car referencing Kimmel, Jeffrey Epstein, and Trump administration officials. Santana fired through the lobby window and from across the street near a school. He was first arrested by state authorities, then taken into federal custody. He faces multiple federal charges, including discharging a firearm near a school and interfering with the radio station. In the meantime, Disney says Jimmy Kimmel Live will return tonight after a brief suspension meant to avoid inflaming tensions. Some ABC affiliates, though, owned by Sinclair and Nexstar, have said they will continue to preempt the show. A Florida man convicted of trying to assassinate President Trump says he never intended to kill anyone. Ryan Ruth was found guilty on Tuesday of attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate and possessing a firearm as a convicted felon. Ruth told the court he did not plan to kill Trump, who at the time was running for president, and he did not testify in his own defense. Prosecutors said Ruth spent weeks plotting the attack before aiming a rifle at Trump on September 15, 2024 at a Florida golf course. Attorney General Pam Bondi called the guilty verdict a sign of the Justice Department's commitment to punishing political violence. Spirit Airlines plans to furlough 1,800 flight attendants by the end of the year. The airline says the cuts match staff levels to fewer flights during its second bankruptcy in a year. Voluntary furloughs start November 1st, with forced furloughs for the rest beginning December 1st. Spirit is also stopping services in about a dozen cities, including Sacramento, San Diego, Salt Lake City, and Albuquerque. The airline says the moves help reduce costs and manage debt. The Flight Attendants Union is helping members find jobs at other airlines. Spirit has made similar cuts in its first bankruptcy last year and continues cost-cutting measures. Sean Diddy Combs' attorneys are asking a judge to give him a sentence of no more than 14 months, effectively time served, after his conviction earlier this year for transporting adults for prostitution. Combs was acquitted of more serious sex trafficking and racketeering charges, but has been jailed in New York for over a year since his arrest. In a new court filing, his lawyers argued that he should only be sentenced for the crime the jury found him guilty of, saying it would be unfair to treat him as if he had been convicted of the more serious charges. The defense also emphasized that Combs did not profit from the crimes and highlighted his personal and professional accomplishments. They noted the hardships he has faced, including the death of close friends and family, and argued for a lenient sentence so he can return to his family. A sentencing hearing is scheduled for October the 3rd. An Illinois resident has fallen seriously ill with a tick-borne virus never before seen in the state. The Illinois Department of Public Health says the virus, called Powassan, can be spread by tick bites, especially from black-legged deer ticks. Symptoms include fever, headache, vomiting, and weakness, and in severe cases, it can cause brain or spinal cord inflammation. Health officials are testing ticks statewide and urge people to take precautions outdoors. They recommend wearing protective clothing, checking for ticks after being in wooded or grassy areas, and drying clothes on high heat to kill any ticks. There is no specific treatment for Powassan virus, so anyone who develops symptoms after a tick bite should see a doctor immediately. A Virginia woman has $150,000 in the state lottery using an unusual method to pick her numbers. Carrie Edwards, who doesn't play the lottery that often, used her phone's ChatGPT app to select the winning numbers in the Virginia lottery drawing. Edwards discovered her win 2 days later while in a meeting after receiving a notification to collect her winnings. At first, she thought it might be a scam, but after confirming the news, she learned she had really won $150,000. She plans to donate the full price to charity, focusing on causes related to medical research, community support, and veterans assistance. And that is all for now. The top stories of the day, no fluff, straight to the point. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment. I'm Kat Pokris, and I'll see you next time. Там была такая небольшая, но я ее тут же в моменте